They say you never really know someone until you're alone with them, miles from home. I thought this road trip would bring my wife and me closer. Instead, it led me straight into a moment I can't unsee, the moment she forgot I existed. It started like something out of a romantic movie, the kind that tricks you into believing problems disappear when you roll the windows down and drive far enough. We'd been rocky, sure, but not broken. At least I didn't think so. I suggested the trip after a quiet dinner one night. I told her we needed a break from the routine, the emails, the bills, the same four walls. Just us, some country roads, maybe a few nights in cozy roadside motels. To my surprise, she didn't hesitate. She even smiled. That kind of smile I hadn't seen in months. We packed light, just a couple of duffels, a cooler of snacks, and my favorite old playlist. The first day was perfect. We laughed, played, would you rather, like teenagers, argued about where to stop for lunch. It felt real again. Like we were peeling back years of silence with every mile. By sunset, we were somewhere off Route 89. A quaint little inn with chipped paint and a neon vacancy sign caught our eye. It was charming in a rundown, nostalgic kind of way. We checked in, got our key, room 6, and decided to stretch our legs around the back garden before grabbing dinner at the small bar inside. And that's when we saw him. He was sitting on the patio, sipping a beer, flipping through a worn paperback. My wife froze. Froze. Her whole face changed. She whispered, "Oh my God. Eric." He looked up. And then he smiled like he'd been waiting for her all this time. "Jess," he said, standing up. "Jess Monroe." They hugged. Tight. Too tight. Too long. I'm not proud of the twinge I felt. That sharp, sour thing in my chest. I chalked it up to surprise. What were the odds? She turned to me, cheeks flushed. "This is Eric. We grew up together. Literally next door. He was my best friend back then." "Back then?" I asked, keeping it light. "Yeah," Eric jumped in. "We were inseparable until college. Then life happened." "Wow. It's been, what? 15 years. 17, she corrected. I didn't miss the way she remembered the exact number. Or how her voice softened when she said it. We invited him to sit with us at the bar. It felt rude not to. I told myself I was being paranoid. But watching them together was like watching a scene I wasn't supposed to see. Like I'd wandered into a memory that didn't belong to me. They talked about childhood pranks. Sneaking out. That one summer when they got caught swimming naked in the neighbor's pool. She was giggling like I hadn't heard in years. Eyes lit up, hand casually brushing his arm when she laughed. I just sat there, sipping my drink, nodding like I wasn't slowly coming undone. Later that night, she said she was tired and wanted to sleep early. I figured she was just drained from the drive, so I helped her out of her shoes, kissed her forehead, and watched her drift off. Her breathing evened out. I stared at the ceiling for a while, then drifted off myself. It must have been around 2:30 a.m. when I woke up, throat dry, mouth like sandpaper. I reached for the water bottle beside the bed, but it was empty. I tried not to wake her as I slid out from under the sheets. But when I turned, I realized. She wasn't there. The bathroom door was open. Empty. No shoes near the bed. Her phone was gone. Something in me stirred. I got dressed and quietly opened the door to the hallway. The inn was still and silent. Lights dim. Carpet soft underfoot. And that's when I saw them. Just down the corridor, near the vending machines, dimly lit by a single overhead bulb, there she was. My wife. Pressed against the wall. Eric's mouth was on hers, his hands wrapped around her waist, sliding lower, lower. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I don't know how long I stood there, watching the woman I married melt into someone else's body like I'd never existed. I didn't make a sound. I just slowly, quietly stepped back, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed with my heart hammering like a drum in my throat. Every minute felt like an hour. I waited for her to return. To lie. To pretend she was just out for air. But I already knew. She came back 30 minutes later. Her hair was slightly tousled. Her eyes flicked toward me, startled that I was awake. "Hey," she whispered. "Couldn't sleep. Went for a walk." "A walk?" I repeated, my voice hollow. "Yeah. Just needed some fresh air." She got under the covers and turned away from me. I stared at the ceiling again. This time, everything felt different. The air was heavier. My mind was racing. And something inside me, something small but fierce, whispered, "Don't let this go." I didn't sleep the rest of the night. In the morning, I acted normal. Made coffee. Pretended nothing had changed. She smiled at me like she didn't spend the night with another man's mouth on hers. But behind that smile, there was something else. Guilt. Shame. Or worse, indifference. We checked out after breakfast. She asked if we should keep driving north or detour west. I said north. But I had a different destination in mind now, not a city or a landmark, but the truth. Because if that kiss was just the tip of the iceberg, then I needed to know how deep this betrayal went. I used to think betrayal hit you like a car crash, sudden, violent, unmistakable. But the truth is, it seeps in slow. It's not the moment you catch them. It's the silence afterward. The questions. The sick realization that the person lying beside you is already somewhere else. We left the hotel like nothing had happened. Jess laughed at something on her phone as we packed the car. She wore that same gray hoodie she always did on road trips, her comfort hoodie. The one I once stole to sleep in when she left town for work. Now, just looking at it made my stomach twist. I couldn't say anything. Not yet. I didn't even know what to say. "Hey, I saw you kissing your childhood friend at 3 a.m. by the vending machines." What if she denied it? What if she cried? Worse, what if she didn't? So I drove. We spent most of the day on winding roads lined with pine trees and silence. Jess played music, but I barely heard it. My mind was replaying last night in a loop, the way her fingers gripped his shoulders, the sound of her soft gasp when he touched her lower back. I wanted to scream. Instead, I just asked, "So, how close were you and Eric back in the day?" She paused. "Pretty close," she said casually. "He was like a brother. We did everything together." Like a brother, I thought. Right. "And you two kept in touch?" I asked, keeping my tone flat. "Not really," she said. "After high school, we drifted apart. College, jobs, life, you know how it goes." I nodded. "You seemed pretty happy to see him." She turned and looked at me for a second too long. "Well, yeah. I was. It was nice to reconnect." I didn't push further. Not yet. I needed time. I needed clarity. We stopped for lunch in a small town diner, one of those places with checkered tablecloths and laminated menus. Jess ordered pancakes. I couldn't eat. That's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No name. Just a text. "Be careful. She's not who you think she is." My blood went cold. I stared at the screen. The message sat there, mocking me. I looked around the diner, scanning faces. No one seemed out of place. Just old couples and a waitress with a tired smile. Jess noticed. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I lied. "Work crap." But it wasn't okay. Someone knew something. And now they were dragging me into a game I didn't even understand. Later that evening, we checked into another roadside motel. Nicer than the last one. Cleaner, brighter. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were driving deeper into some dark tunnel with no way back. While Jess showered, I stepped outside and called the number. It rang once. Then a voice answered. "Amen." Calm. Almost too calm. "You saw them last night, didn't you?" he said. "Who is this?" "That doesn't matter. What matters is that you're not crazy." "Why are you texting me?" "Because I've been where you are. With her." I froze. "What do you mean?" "She's good at making you feel like you're the only one." Like you're special. But trust me, you're not. Eric's not the first. And he won't be the last. My heart dropped. Who are you? The line went dead. I called back. No answer. I stood there in the cold for a long minute, staring at the dark trees beyond the parking lot. I felt like the ground had shifted beneath me, like I was standing on something that had looked solid but was really just paper-thin ice. When I walked back inside, Jess was drying her hair. She looked at me and smiled. You okay? I nodded. I had mastered the lie. Later, we lay in bed. She curled up next to me, resting her head on my chest. And I let her. Even though I didn't recognize her anymore. I couldn't sleep. At 3 a.m., I checked her phone. She kept it under her pillow. That used to be my first red flag, someone hiding their phone like that. But I ignored it. Love does that. It trains you to overlook all the warning signs. Her phone wasn't locked. Or maybe she trusted me too much. There were no recent messages from Eric. No missed calls. But in the photo album, tucked deep in an old hidden folder, I found something. Photos. Of her and Eric. Not just childhood pictures. These were recent. Her in a white sundress. Him with his arm around her waist. One of them kissing. Another in bed. Bare shoulders. Sheets. Smiles. My fingers shook. The timestamps were from 3 months ago. Before the trip. Before this trip. That's when it hit me, she didn't just run into him. This wasn't some chance encounter. This had been planned. The road trip. The hotel. Everything. She was meeting him again. And I was just the cover. I couldn't breathe. I put the phone back quietly. Lay down. Closed my eyes. But the images burned behind my eyelids like fire. In the morning, I didn't say a word. I couldn't. Not yet. But something had shifted in me. I wasn't just a husband on a road trip anymore. I was a man chasing the truth, and finally ready to catch it. There's a strange numbness that comes after heartbreak, like the pain grows so loud it goes silent. That's where I was. I'd seen the pictures. Her and Eric, 3 months ago, tangled in each other like newlyweds. Smiling. Half naked. Timed and dated like a punch to the ribs. And yet, she sat across from me that morning, sipping coffee like it was just another day. I watched her fingers wrap around the cup, the way her eyes drifted to the window as the motel parking lot came alive with early travelers. A couple in matching tracksuits walked their dog. Someone loaded luggage into a rusty Ford. Everything was ordinary. But nothing felt real. Sleep okay? She asked without looking at me. Not really, I answered. Had weird dreams. Me too, she said with a soft laugh. Must be the motel pillows. I wondered if she ever had dreams about him. If she compared us, our bodies, our voices, our silence. I wondered if, in her mind, this trip was a vacation or a goodbye. I said nothing. Just sipped my own bitter coffee and counted the seconds before she'd start checking her phone again. Except she didn't. Her phone stayed on the nightstand. Face down. Like it was hiding something. Like she was hiding something. And I already knew she was. The strange message from the night before still haunted me. She's not who you think she is. And now I knew it was true. We hit the road again. She suggested taking a scenic detour through a mountain pass she remembered from years ago. It's beautiful, she said. Like driving through a postcard. I let her talk. Let her pretend things were okay. I watched her from the corner of my eye, how relaxed she seemed, how effortlessly she shifted from guilty lover to cheerful wife. That's when I realized something terrifying, she wasn't just lying to me. She was good at it. Too good. Around noon, we stopped at a gas station in a quiet town surrounded by trees. While Jess went inside to use the bathroom, I stayed back to check my phone again. No new texts. I scrolled back to that anonymous number and tried calling it one more time. Still no answer. I was about to put my phone away when another message popped up. He's not just an old friend. Ask her about Nashville. Nashville. What the hell happened in Nashville? Jess came back to the car a minute later, smiling, holding 2 bottles of water and a bag of gummy bears. My favorite. It almost worked on me. Almost. Hey, I said, casually. Ever been to Nashville? She froze. Just for a moment. Then she tilted her head. Nashville. Yeah. The city. Music capital. Great barbecue. She chuckled. What's with the random geography quiz? I don't know. Just thinking maybe we swing that way next. Never been. She nodded slowly. Yeah, we went there once. A long time ago. My mom had a work conference there. Why? She was lying. I knew it. I saw it in the way her eyes narrowed, her voice got soft. A very specific kind of softness, the kind she used when she was navigating a minefield. I didn't push. Not yet. But now I had a name. A place. A thread. We reached a small lake town by evening. Jess said she found a beautiful cabin style in online, private, romantic, tucked in the woods. It sounded like something from a honeymoon brochure. And I wondered again, who was she doing this for? We checked in. Room 204. Wooden walls, a stone fireplace, a balcony that looked out over a forest. She was glowing. I was unraveling. After dinner at a local bistro, we returned to the room. Jess lit a few candles, poured 2 glasses of wine, and asked if I wanted to sit on the balcony with her. The air smelled like pine and ash and smoke. For a moment, I almost believed her again. We sat in silence. Just the 2 of us, surrounded by crickets and wind. And then, she said it. I'm really glad we did this, she whispered. I feel close to you again. I turned to her slowly. Do you? She nodded. Yeah. Like we've gotten past the hard stuff. There it was, the lie inside the silence. I looked her in the eye. Did you sleep with Eric? Her face didn't fall. It froze. Like a deer hearing a gun cock in the woods. What? She stammered, laughing nervously. Why would you? I saw you last night, I said quietly. By the vending machines. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Tried again. That wasn't, look, it wasn't what it looked like. Really? I said. Because it looked exactly like your tongue was down his throat. Her face turned red. It was a mistake. It meant nothing. Oh, that's funny, I said, pulling out my phone. Because 3 months ago in Nashville, it meant enough for you to take pictures. Her eyes widened. You went through my phone. Don't pretend that's the betrayal here. Silence. Heavy. Choking. She stood up, walked inside, pacing like she couldn't decide whether to fight or confess. I followed her in. I was going to tell you, she said finally. It was over. It is over. This trip was supposed to. I don't know. Reset us. I laughed, bitter and dry. Reset. You kissed him last night, Jess. Her hands shook. He showed up out of nowhere. I didn't expect to see him. It just happened. No, I said. It didn't just happen. You planned this. The hotel. The route. You knew where he was. She stared at me. Guilt and defiance battling in her eyes. And then she whispered something I wasn't ready for. He was my first. What? Eric. He was my first love. Before you. Before everything. I was 18. We went to Nashville together after high school. Spent a weekend there. No one knew. I couldn't breathe. He's not just a friend, she continued. He never was. He's unfinished business. I stepped back, heart pounding. So what am I? The safe choice. She didn't answer. I walked out of the room and down the hall. I didn't know where I was going. Just away. I stood under the porch roof as rain started to fall in soft sheets. My phone buzzed again. You're closer to the truth. But you're still not asking the right question. Ask her who really planned this trip. I stared at the message. The storm picked up. Thunder rolled through the mountains like a warning. And somewhere behind me, I heard Jess's voice on the phone. Whispering. Nervous. Terrified. There's a moment when betrayal stops being about anger and becomes something colder. Sharper. Like standing outside in a storm, letting the rain soak you to the bone, not because you like it, but because you've accepted it. That was me, standing outside that cabin, listening to my wife whisper into the phone, hiding from me in plain sight. She didn't know I was right there. Just a few feet away. The wood-paneled walls of the cabin were thin, and the night was too quiet. Her voice was muffled, but I could still make out the tone, hushed, anxious, familiar in a way that made my skin crawl. She paced slowly across the floor, her bare feet brushing the old hardwood. I moved closer to the window, staying in the shadows. No, I can't talk long, she whispered. Pause. I don't know. He's starting to ask questions. He brought up Nashville. Another pause. I don't think he knows everything yet. But it's getting harder to lie. Harder to lie. That one cut deep. She kept talking, her voice lowering even more. I couldn't hear it all, but I caught pieces, phrases that made my stomach clench. I didn't expect to see you like that. He's still watching me. I just need a little more time. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. This wasn't about a fling anymore. This wasn't some messy reconnection with an old flame. Something was going on behind my back, something bigger. Something deliberate. And I had no idea how far it went. She ended the call, and I stepped away from the window just in time. I didn't want her to know I'd heard. Not yet. When she opened the cabin door and saw me standing under the roof, soaked and silent, she looked startled. You okay? She asked, voice careful. Just needed air, I replied, watching her closely. Couldn't sleep. She nodded. Me neither. She moved toward me, maybe to put a hand on my arm, but I stepped back. She noticed. Her smile faded. You're still angry, she said softly. Do I have a reason not to be? She didn't answer. We barely spoke the next morning. The storm had passed, but the tension between us hung heavy like the wet mist around the trees. We got in the car. She scrolled through her phone. I kept driving. My hands were tight on the wheel. My mind tighter. Around midday, we stopped at a gas station. She went inside for snacks. While she was gone, I opened her glove box. I hadn't done it before. I respected boundaries, even when they were being torn apart. But now I was done playing polite. Inside was a folded map. One of those old paper kinds you don't see much anymore. It was already marked, with several highlighted stops, including both of the motels we'd stayed in, and one more we hadn't reached yet. A cabin further north. Circled in red ink. I unfolded the map fully. Tucked inside was a receipt. 2 names. 1 room. Dated 2 weeks before our trip. Jess and Eric. At the same cabin we were headed toward next. My heart stopped. So this trip wasn't my idea at all. Not really. She'd planted the seed, gently, carefully, like she always did when she wanted something to feel like my decision. She let me believe I suggested the road trip. She let me book the dates. But she already had the route. The plan. The past. She just needed me out of the way long enough for it to play out. I confronted her at lunch. We sat outside a cafe by the water. She ordered a salad. I didn't touch my sandwich. I pulled the receipt out of my pocket and slid it across the table. She went pale. I found it in the glove box, I said calmly. You really thought I wouldn't look? She stared at the paper like it was a loaded gun. You were there with him? At the cabin? Before this trip even started? She nodded slowly. Her voice was barely a whisper. Yes. Why? She looked up, and for the first time, I saw real tears. Not the performative kind. Real ones. I didn't know how to stop it, she said. It started months ago. I ran into him at a conference. We grabbed drinks. Then dinner. It felt easy. Like no time had passed. And I didn't mean to, but it just kept happening. And the trip? I asked. She nodded again. I wanted to see if there was still something between us. I thought, if I could feel something with him again, maybe I'd know what to do. And me? What was I? The decoy? The audience? No, she said quickly. I didn't know how to leave you. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to. That's supposed to make it better. No. But it's the truth. I stared at her for a long time. And then I asked the one question that had been burning inside me since I first saw that anonymous message. Who's been texting me? Her eyes widened. What? Someone's been sending me messages. About you. About Nashville. About him. You don't know anything about that. She shook her head, genuinely confused. No, she said. I swear. I didn't tell anyone about this. Not even. She stopped. Not even who? I pressed. She looked away. My sister. I blinked. Your sister? She found out, Jess admitted. I slipped up during a phone call. She heard something in my voice. I think she figured it out. She was angry. She's always liked you. I leaned back in my chair, stunned. She's the one who sent me the message. I don't know. Maybe. It sounds like something she'd do. I sat there, staring at the water, everything unraveling in my head. Her sister. Eric. Nashville. The lies wrapped in half-truths, the truth dressed up as coincidence. And I still didn't know where it all led. Why didn't you just tell me? I asked, finally. Because I didn't want to hurt you. I laughed bitterly. And yet here we are. That night, I told her I needed space. I got us separate rooms at a motel a few miles down the road. She didn't argue. She just said, I'm sorry, before walking away. And I wanted to believe her. I really did. But then, sometime past midnight, my phone lit up again. Same number. Same cold voice in text form. She's not the only one lying. Eric has secrets too. Look in his past. And this time, attached, was a photo. Grainy. Old. But clear enough. Eric. Sitting at a table. Holding hands with a woman. Not Jess. But someone who looked exactly like her. There are some moments in life when your brain refuses to accept what your eyes are showing you. Like your mind is trying to protect you from the weight of a truth too heavy to carry. That's exactly how I felt staring at that photo. It wasn't Jess. But it could have been. The resemblance was chilling, same sharp jawline, same delicate hands, same look in the eyes like she was hiding something behind a smile. But it wasn't her. She was younger, maybe by a few years. And Eric. Eric looked different too. Clean-shaven. Tense jaw. Staring at her like she was the only person in the world. The timestamp at the bottom of the photo read 2015. That was 3 years before Jess and I met. And yet here she was, her near twin, sitting across from the man who, just last night, had his hands all over my wife. I zoomed in. Tried to see the name on the menu in front of them. It was a small cafe in Nashville. My pulse quickened. Nashville. The anonymous message from earlier suddenly made more sense. He's not just an old friend. Ask her about Nashville. But now the question wasn't just about Jess. Who was the woman in the photo? And why did Eric always seem to orbit women who looked exactly like my wife? Sleep wasn't even an option after that. My thoughts were racing, and so was my heart. I kept reading the text over and over, waiting for something else. A name. A clue. Another message. Nothing. By 6 a.m., I was outside, sitting on the edge of the motel bed with the blinds cracked open, staring at the sky as it slowly turned from black to gray. That's when Jess knocked on my door. She looked wrecked, puffy eyes, disheveled hair, wearing one of my old college sweatshirts I thought she'd thrown away. Something about her in that moment almost made me forget everything. Almost. I couldn't sleep, she said quietly. Can we talk? I stepped aside and let her in. She sat on the corner of the bed, looking at her hands, like she wasn't sure where to start. So I did. Who's the woman in the photo? Her head snapped up. What photo? I showed her. Her face drained of color. Eric and her, I said. Nashville, 2015. Does she look familiar? Jess stared at the screen like it was haunted. She stammered. Oh my God. You know her. She nodded slowly. That's Hannah. Who's Hannah? She swallowed. My half-sister. My stomach dropped. Excuse me. I've never talked about her because we didn't grow up together, Jess said quickly, as if trying to catch her own breath. My dad had an affair before he married my mom. Hannah was the result. She lived with her mom out of state. We barely knew each other. But I met her a few times. At family gatherings. Weddings. That kind of thing. And she dated Eric? I don't know if they dated, Jess said. I didn't know anything about them. Not until now. I looked at her, searching for any sign she was lying. But she seemed genuinely shaken. I sat down next to her. Why would Eric not mention that? Especially when he's clearly getting involved with you now. I don't know, she whispered. But that's disturbing. Disturbing was putting it lightly. Suddenly, it wasn't just infidelity. It was something darker. Something obsessive. Eric had been with her half-sister before, and now, years later, was with Jess. And the similarities weren't just physical. There was a pattern here. One that neither of us had seen coming. I needed more answers. And there was only one place to get them. Nashville, I said. Jess looked up at me, confused. What? We're going to Nashville. I need to know what happened between him and your sister. She hesitated. You don't even know if she's still there. She might not be. But someone will know. A friend. A neighbor. Someone who remembers. You think Eric was obsessed with her? I don't think anymore, I said. I know. Jess looked down. And now me. I nodded slowly. You were never a coincidence. We drove south that afternoon, abandoning the original road trip completely. The atmosphere between us was quieter than ever, but different now. She wasn't pretending anymore. Neither was I. We were two people sitting in the wreckage of something we thought was real, trying to find the black box in the debris. On the way, I tried texting the anonymous number again. This time, I wrote. Who are you? How do you know all this? A few hours passed. No response. But just before sunset, as we approached the city limits, another message came in. Check the police records. Nashville PD, Hannah Monroe. 2016. I pulled over immediately. My hands were shaking as I typed her name into a search engine, followed by Nashville Police Record 2016. Several articles popped up. Local woman found unconscious in hotel room, no charges filed. Family refuses to press charges in alleged assault case. Victim names Eric Landon as ex-boyfriend in initial statement. The room spun. Jess gasped beside me, reading over my shoulder. She was attacked, she whispered. I clicked into one article. It explained that Hannah had been found in a hotel room, bruised and disoriented, after a 911 call from the front desk. She named Eric. But later, the case was dropped. No formal charges. The family declined to pursue legal action. Why didn't anyone tell me? Jess asked, barely audible. I looked at her. Because they knew what kind of person Eric really was. Her hands flew to her mouth. And I brought him back into my life, into our life. It all fit now. The text messages. The timing. The obsessive reappearance. The eerie resemblance. Eric wasn't just an old flame or a mistake. He was dangerous. Calculated. And Jess, whether she realized it or not, had walked straight into his pattern. That night, we found a small hotel in the heart of the city and stayed up going through every record we could find. Jess tried calling her father, no answer. She left him a voicemail, trembling as she asked him about Hannah, about Eric, about what really happened. We didn't sleep. Somewhere around 3 a.m., I got another message. You're almost there. But be careful. He knows you're digging. Don't trust what he says next. The next morning, as we checked out of the hotel, my phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Hello. It was Eric. Calm. Confident. Smiling, even through the phone. I think we need to talk, he said. Face to face. No more secrets. Before I could speak, he added. And don't bring Jess. I stood there with the phone pressed to my ear. Heart pounding like a war drum. Eric's voice sounded too calm, too rehearsed, like a man who'd already written the ending to a story I hadn't even finished reading. And don't bring Jess, he repeated, then hung up. I didn't even get a chance to respond. I lowered the phone slowly. Jess was at the hotel lobby desk, checking us out. She hadn't heard a thing. For a few seconds, I just stared at her, this woman I had trusted with my life, who once laid her head on my chest and said I was her home. Now I didn't know who she was. I didn't know who we were. But I did know one thing, I had to meet Eric. Alone. We sat in a quiet coffee shop just outside Nashville, one of those minimalist places where everyone pretends to read poetry but secretly watches each other. He was already there when I walked in, seated at a corner booth, sunglasses resting on the table, coffee untouched. He stood and gave me a polite, smug smile. Glad you came, he said. I didn't shake his hand. Just sat down and stared at him. You've got 5 minutes, I said. Start talking. He leaned back, casual, like we were two old friends catching up after years apart. I figured you'd find out eventually, he began. About Hannah. About the police report. About Jess. You hurt her, I snapped. I loved her, he corrected. Both of them. That's the part you're missing. My fists clenched under the table. You think love looks like that? Abandoning one sister and then seducing the other. He smirked. I didn't seduce anyone. Jess came to me. I didn't seek her out. You expect me to believe this was all just chance? No, he said. Nothing about love is chance. We don't fall in love randomly, we're drawn to certain people for a reason. Chemistry, memory, guilt, trauma. It's all connected. I stared at him in disgust. What happened with Hannah? I asked. Tell me everything. Now. He looked away for a moment, then leaned forward, voice low. She was vulnerable. Her mother had just died. She came to Nashville to clear her head, and I was there. We hit it off. It got intense, too fast. She was unstable. Don't do that, I snapped. Don't blame her. I'm not. I'm just saying, the night at the hotel. It wasn't what the papers made it sound like. She overdosed. On purpose. I was the one who called the front desk. I stayed with her until the ambulance arrived. My mind raced. She named you as the person responsible. She panicked, he said, eyes flashing. We'd fought earlier that day. I told her I couldn't keep doing the emotional roller coaster. She snapped. Took a handful of pills and washed them down with vodka. I didn't know what to believe. His story sounded too neat, too practiced. What about Jess? I asked. Was she just your next project? He smiled again. Jess was never a project. Jess was something I lost years ago, and when I saw her again, it felt like maybe I had a second chance. I didn't go after her because she looked like Hannah. I went after her because she wasn't Hannah. I almost believed him. Almost. But something about the way he said second chance made my skin crawl. I know about the cabin, I said. The trip 2 weeks before she and I started ours. He didn't flinch. She called me, he said. Said she was confused about her marriage. Said she felt dead inside. I offered her a weekend to clear her head. She came willingly. You knew she was married. I did. You knew she was my wife. I did. There was no shame in his voice. No regret. Just certainty. She loves me, he said. No, I replied coldly. She's confused. You preyed on her because you knew she was vulnerable, just like her sister. He leaned back, that smug expression returning. You can't save her from me, he said. Not because I'm a monster, but because deep down, she's still figuring out who she is. And when she looks at you, she sees the life she should want. But when she looks at me, he pointed to his chest. She sees the part of herself she buried years ago. I stood up. I'm done listening to you. But just before I turned to leave, he said something that stopped me cold. Ask her about the baby. I froze. My stomach flipped. What baby? He picked up his coffee, finally taking a sip. Then smiled. Oh, he said. You didn't know. I drove back to the hotel in silence. I didn't know whether I was angry, afraid, or just hollow. My mind kept circling that one word, baby, like a hawk waiting to strike. When I walked into the room, Jess was sitting on the edge of the bed, wringing her hands. She looked up the moment I entered, and something in her eyes told me she knew. You saw him, she said. I nodded. She stood up. What did he tell you? Enough. Her eyes watered. Then you know. I want to hear it from you. She turned away, shoulders shaking. And then, finally, she said it. I was pregnant. With his baby. It happened right after Nashville. Before the road trip. I felt the ground tilt. I didn't know what to do, she continued. I took a test. It was positive. I didn't tell anyone. Not even him. I thought maybe if I went on this trip with you, if we reconnected, I could pretend it didn't happen. That maybe it was still our life. That I could fix everything. My voice came out hoarse. Did you plan to tell me at all? I was going to, she whispered. But then I started bleeding. It was gone. A miscarriage. I didn't go to a hospital. I didn't tell anyone. I just carried it like a shadow. I sank into the armchair, hands on my face, trying to breathe. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell someone? Because I was ashamed, she said. Ashamed that I'd ruined us. Ashamed that I let him back into my life. Ashamed that part of me loved him. Silence. Thick. Crushing. I looked up at her. Her face was streaked with tears, her body trembling like she might collapse. I don't know if I can come back from this, I said. I know, she whispered. But I want to try. And just then, my phone buzzed again. Another message from the anonymous number. You need to leave. Now. He's not done with her. And this time, he won't just walk away. I stared at the message on my phone, heart hammering in my chest. You need to leave. Now. He's not done with her. And this time, he won't just walk away. It wasn't just a warning. It felt like a final line in the sand, a desperate plea, or maybe a threat. My hands were trembling. Jess was still crying silently near the bed, clutching her arms around herself like she was trying to hold in everything that had already spilled out. Jess, I said, holding up the phone, did you tell anyone about Eric? About what happened between you two? She looked up, eyes wide and exhausted. No. No one. I mean, I never talked to anyone except you. I hesitated. Then who's been sending me these messages? The ones warning me to watch you. To be careful. Her face paled. I don't know. I couldn't tell if she was lying. Or maybe she was just too deep in her own guilt to even keep track anymore. I checked the message again. There was no number. Just a burner, one of those anonymous SMS services. I had two choices. Pretend it was all paranoia, or assume the worst. I chose the second. We're leaving, I said. Now. Jess didn't argue. She packed her bag in silence, face blank. I did the same. I kept my phone out the whole time, checking the hallway every few seconds, heart racing with every noise. When we got to the car, I told her we weren't heading home. Not yet. Then where? She asked, tired. A place no one knows. I need time to think. We drove for hours, back roads, then interstates, then off again into some quiet mountain town in North Carolina. I didn't tell her where we were going until we pulled into a small rented cabin I booked last minute under a fake name. She didn't ask questions. Just walked in, dropped her bag, and sat on the edge of the bed again like she had nothing left to give. I sat across from her. I need to ask you something, I said. She nodded. Was there ever a moment on this trip where you were going to tell me the truth? All of it. Jess looked up, eyes filled with something I couldn't read, fear, maybe. Or regret. Yes, she whispered. That night at the hotel, before you saw us. I almost told you. I sat in the bathroom. Looking at myself in the mirror, rehearsing the words. But I couldn't. I thought I'd lose you. And I already felt like I'd lost everything else. I leaned forward. Why did you go to him in the middle of the night? After everything? She swallowed. Because I was afraid. Afraid of what? That you'd stop loving me if you knew the truth. And Eric, he made it sound like he was the only one who could forgive me. That we shared this secret that no one else would understand. And did he forgive you? I asked, voice cracking. She shook her head. No. He wanted to own me. That's not forgiveness. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But just as I opened my mouth to speak, there was a knock at the door. One, then two more. Slow. Come. Not the kind of knock you ignore. Jess froze. I stood, walked to the door, and looked through the peephole. Eric. I didn't even hesitate. I opened it, stepped outside, and closed it behind me. What the hell are you doing here? I asked. He smiled, not smug this time, but desperate. I tried to warn you, he said. But you didn't listen. Warn me? I snapped. You're the reason we're here. You seduced her. Lied to her. Lied to me. You broke every part of her life, and now you're stalking us across state lines. His smile disappeared. You still don't get it, he said. This isn't about jealousy. It's about history. And history always comes back. I stepped closer. Stay away from us. But Eric leaned in, lowered his voice. You think she told you everything? I froze. She told you about the baby. About the miscarriage. But did she tell you it wasn't her first? My breath caught. She's been hiding pieces of herself from you since the beginning, he continued. Long before me. You just never asked the right questions. I grabbed him by the collar, shoving him back against the porch beam. Shut up. I'm not lying, he said. She had an abortion. Years ago. Said it was yours. Said she couldn't handle the idea of being a mother, not then. Not with you. I let go of him. Why are you doing this? I asked, voice shaking. He smirked again. Because I loved both sisters, and I lost them both. You don't get to walk away with the last one. And then he stepped back into the dark, disappearing into the trees like a ghost. When I went back inside, Jess looked up immediately. Was it him? I nodded. He's gone now. She saw something in my eyes, something heavy. Something I didn't want to say out loud. What did he tell you? I didn't answer right away. Instead, I asked, was there another baby? She blinked. Took a breath. And nodded. I was 23. We were just married. I found out and I panicked. I wasn't ready. I didn't even tell you. I went alone. I hated myself for it. I sat down, heart sinking. You never thought I deserved to know. I thought you'd leave me, she said. And maybe I didn't believe I deserved to be a mother. Silence fell between us again, heavy and suffocating. I didn't know what to say. Or what to feel. Part of me wanted to scream. Part of me wanted to hold her. And part of me just wanted to disappear, like Eric had into the trees. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence and the wind outside. Jess lay next to me, but it felt like we were on different continents. Too much had been said. Too much still unsaid. By morning, she was already sitting at the table, suitcase packed again. I'm going home, she said quietly. You can stay, if you need time. Or forever. I won't chase you. I walked her to the car. Neither of us cried. That scared me the most. Before she got in, she turned back. For what it's worth, she said, I never stopped loving you. Not even when I didn't deserve to. Then she was gone. It's been 6 weeks. Eric disappeared. No one's heard from him. The police said there were no threats made, nothing actionable. I didn't push it. Some ghosts are better left alone. Jess and I haven't spoken since that morning. I keep thinking I'll reach out, that I'll forgive her, or maybe ask her to forgive me for not noticing how far she was drifting away. But I haven't. Not yet. Some nights, I still see her face in the dark, not the woman I caught in the hallway, or the one crying on the bed, or even the one I kissed on our wedding day. I see the version of her that never got the chance to exist, the version who didn't have to carry so much guilt, so many secrets. The version who didn't feel like love had to be earned through punishment. I don't know if we'll find our way back. I don't know if we should. But I do know one thing. The truth doesn't always save us. Sometimes, it just sets fire to the lies we built our lives on. And all that's left is whatever we decide to build from the ashes.